Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make brioche hamburger buns, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, beautiful golden brown outside crust and inside. Isn't that beautiful color? And it's so tender and of course buttery. So to make a brioche dough, this is what you would call an enriched yeast bread. By that I mean there's lots of butter and there's lots of eggs, so it just gives it a wonderful flavor. Now, a brioche, we do have to knead this dough a long time, probably close to 25 minutes. So I do recommend an electric mixer for this, makes it so much easier. So I'm going to start with my paddle attachment. And you will need 3 1/4 cups, which is 425 grams of, I'm using all-purpose flour, unbleached I like to use, so that's plain flour. And just put that right in there, along with 2 teaspoons, 8 grams of kosher salt. And then I'm using 1 1/2 teaspoons, which is 5 grams of SAF Gold instant yeast. Now, there's 2 types of instant yeast. There's the red and the gold. For this, I like to use the gold, and that you use that when your dough has a lot of either butter or sugar, and we do have a lot of butter, so that's why I'm using this. I like to use the instant yeast because 1, we don't have to proof it, and 2, it really gives a good rise to our bread. So what I'm just going to do is beat that just to mix everything together. And then I'm going to add 5 large, which is 240 grams of eggs, and you want your eggs cold. Along with, I'm adding 3 tablespoons, 40 grams of milk. Again, have that cold. The reason I'm using both of these cold is because, like I said, we have to knead this dough a long time, and that's really going to warm it up. So if you start with cold ingredients, then our dough should come out at the end around room temperature, which is what we're looking for. Dump that in. And I'm just going to beat this with my paddle attachment just until the ingredients are mixed together. Okay, that's good enough. So now I'm going to switch over to my dough hook. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we want at this point, we want a really strong dough. So what I'm going to do is put my mixer on first speed and beat it 4 minutes, and then I'm going to increase the speed to second speed for an additional 3 minutes. So 7 minutes altogether, 4 on first speed, 3 on second. Okay, so I've been kneading this for 7 minutes total, and I'll show you. As you can see, this is a really strong dough, which is what we want. So now what we're going to do, you will need 1/3 cup, which is 65 grams of granulated white sugar. I'm going to add the sugar to our dough gradually over a 5-minute period. I'm going to add a little, and once that's kneaded in, then I'll add a little more. You want to do it gradually. The sugar, you will notice the difference in the texture of your dough between now and after we add all that sugar. Have your mixer on second speed doing this. So like I said, second speed for 5 minutes, gradually add your sugar. Okay, so all of our sugar has been added over 5 minutes, like I said. So I'll just kind of take a bit here and show you. There is quite a bit of difference. It's sticky now. And that sugar did break down, soften this, see? So it's not like before, it was like really hard to pull, and it's quite sticky. So that's what you're looking for. So I'm just gonna Scrape down the sides here. Like that. Okay. So now what you will need, we need 1 cup, which is 225 grams of cold unsalted butter. You want it cold. And then I'm using parchment paper. You could use like wax paper, you could use plastic wrap. So what I've done is just take my cold butter, and we want to soften it. We still want it cold, but we want it pliable. So what we're gonna do, a little noisy here, I've got a rolling pin and I'm going to pound this until it's like still cold, but it's pliable. I'll show you. Okay, I think that's enough. All your frustrations you can pound out. So that looks good. What I do to make sure it's pliable enough is I just kind of run it over the side of the counter, and if it doesn't crack, it's usually pliable enough. Now I know some people say, well, why don't you just leave out your butter till it comes to room temperature or cool enough? And I don't know about the chemistry. There's something with the chemistry that it changes the chemistry of the butter, so that you want to do it this way. So now I'm just going to divide it, into pieces, and then just put it all in here. And this next is when we really have to knead this for probably 10 to 15 minutes. We'll give our mixer a workout. I know that's a lot of butter, and that's what gives it that. It's so tender in texture, and it's so buttery. It is so good. So what we're going to do, have it on second speed. We're going to beat this. Like I said, 10, I kind of lean more towards 15 minutes. What you're looking for is, of course, all the butter has to be mixed into our dough, and then it's going to be, when you touch it, it's smooth, it's elastic, it cleans the bowl. Now, if it's sticky, you want to beat it longer. That's a sign that it has not been kneaded enough. So it's just smooth and elastic, but I will show you. So second speed. Okay, so it's been about 12 minutes actually. I'm going to check it. Oh, this feels nice and smooth. And it's cleaning the bowl pretty good. Now, if at this point you pick it and it's really sticky, that means you have to knead it a little longer. I would say probably a couple more minutes and then check it again. So, but another test is take a little. Oh, this is beautiful. It's nice and like silky almost. And just gently pull. We're going to do what's called the window pane test. So what we want is to be able to stretch this dough pretty good without it breaking. Now do this gently, don't yank it out. But you can see, I can move this and I can stretch it. Just keep, and start to really see through it, then that's another sign. But mainly, it's the feel of it. Like I said, sticky, that means it's not ready. So what we're going to do, so you need a large bowl. What I do is I'm just taking a little bit of flavorless oil, by that, a vegetable, corn, canola, safflower, even a light olive oil. And then I'm just taking a paper towel, or you could take a clean cloth, and just, because we don't really need to grease this bowl very much because there's so much butter in our dough. So just put, oh, it is a beautiful dough. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I have an infrared thermometer. I'm going to check my temperature of my dough. And that's coming out about 72. That's, you want it at room temperature, which is 73 to 76. So we're almost there. which is 2324C. And now what we're going to do is I'm just going to cover that with some plastic wrap. Now have your bowl big enough because this will rise a little. Now we want to let this proof or ferment for 1 hour at room temperature. Like I said, room temperature 73 to 76 Fahrenheit, 2324C. If, like my kitchen, it's a little cool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn, my oven is off, but I'm going to turn the oven light on and I'm going to put this in there. And that makes a really nice warm environment, just that perfect room temperature. So what we're going to do though, for an hour, but at the half hour, so in 30 minutes, I'm going to stretch this dough. So I will come back and show you how to do that. So it's been half hour, so we're going to stretch our dough. And we do this for 2 reasons. One is to equalize the temperature, and 2, it strengthens the dough. So what I'm going to do is take this end, just stretch it, and put it back on itself. 180 degrees, 90 degrees, and then 180, like so. And then I'm just going to flip it over onto itself, cover it back up, and then we're going to let it proof for another 30 minutes. And then after that, what you're going to do is just take the whole bowl like this and put it into your refrigerator overnight. And we're going to do this for 2 reasons. One, chilling it overnight will improve the flavor of our brioche. And 2, a cold dough is going to make it so much easier to form our rounds for our hamburger buns. So that's what you're going to do. Proof for 30 and then into the fridge overnight. Our dough has now chilled overnight. You can see it is really cold. So first you will need a baking sheet. I've lined mine with parchment paper. You could lightly butter it or spray it with one of those nonstick sprays. Now, as you can see here, I make really large hamburger buns. That's 4 inches in diameter, 10 centimeters. So for this amount of dough, I'm going to get 8 rounds. Of course, if you wanted to make smaller ones, you could divide it and make 10, 12, whatever. So now you want to make sure that every round is the same size. So if you have a scale, now's the time to use it. So like I said, I'm going to do 8. So for this amount of dough, that would be about 125 grams per bun. So okay, that's good. So I'm going to show you how to do 1, and then you can carry on. So take your round. Now I don't like to flour the counter, but you can flour your hands. This dough really at this point is not that sticky because it's so cold. So what you're going to do is flatten it into a round. About that size. It's not critical, but into a round. And then just take it and gather it into the center, like so. And then flip it over, and then you could just use, the palm of your hand, or you could actually use 2. And I'm just going to, you want to get some surface tension, get a nice round. So just kind of, until you have a nice smooth round like that. And then I'm going to place it on my baking sheet. I find you can fit 8. You want to space them because, of course, as they proof, they are going to grow. So space them out. And that's how you do it. I'm just going to carry on and do the next one. Okay, so I'm on my final one here. Okay. So as you can see, I've spaced them enough so that they can grow as they proof. Now, I'm going to just take a reed. Now the rounds are at 54 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 12 C. So it's going to take a while for these to proof. One, usually takes at this temperature, I find about an hour to bring it up to room temperature. And then we're looking at an hour to an hour and a half for them to proof fully. So 2.5 hours. Got lots of time here. So now we want to cover our pan. So what I do, because if I just put the plastic wrap, it will stick. So what I do is I just take it like a non-stick spray and just spray that. You could lightly oil it as well, and that way it won't stick as they rise. Again, you want these to proof at room temperature. That means 73 to 76 Fahrenheit, 23, 24 C. I am going to, because my kitchen's a little cold this morning, I am going to have the oven off, but the light on, because that'd be a nice room temperature for it to rise. So these will, they'll get rise nice and puffy. If you press in, they will slowly come back almost all the way out, almost doubled in size. But I will show you when we get to that point. So I would say 2.5 hours at room temperature. So our buns have been proofed, as you can see here. Feel nice and soft, spring back. So what you want to do is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. Now what I like to do now is to brush the tops of our buns with an egg wash. So I have one large egg, about 50 grams. Have your egg at room temperature because we don't want to brush on a cold egg onto our fully proofed buns. So, and I'm just using a whisk. You could just use a fork for this. And I like to sprinkle once I put the egg wash on, I like to sprinkle the tops of buns with some sesame seeds. You could either use the white or the black, whichever, or you could use both. So just take a pastry brush and just lightly brush the tops and the sides. This is going to give a lovely shine to our hamburger buns. Once you do that, then, like I said, if you want, sprinkle on some sesame seeds, as much or as little as you want. Okay. A few more seeds on here. Okay, so now for baking, everyone's oven is a little different, but I find about 20 minutes. So what you're looking for, the outside crust will turn a beautiful golden brown, nice and shiny. And if you actually turned over one of the buns, it will, if you tap it, it will sound hollow. I do like to rotate about halfway through baking front to back. And so about 20 minutes. Now you are going to get a little bit of what we call oven springs. So they are going to get a little bigger. So just so you know that as well. So about 20 minutes. Okay, so our brioche hamburger buns are done. Don't they look gorgeous? And the smell in here is just wonderful. So as you can see, they've risen. We did get a bit of oven spring, so they did rise a little more. Beautiful, shiny, golden brown crust. You see underneath too. So what I did is put my baking sheet on a wire rack. You want these to cool completely. Actually, if I'm using these as a hamburger bun, I like to make them the day before so that they really have time to set up. But, really, you can use these for other things besides a hamburger. You could make like a fish sandwich, a chicken sandwich. I use them to make a breakfast sandwich with some cheese and maybe a fried egg, some bacon, lettuce, tomato. So, and also you could just serve these alongside maybe soup or stew. Very good. But so I'm going to use this I made yesterday, so it has really set up. So if I was making hamburgers, this is what I would do. So she's using a serrated knife. And this, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Nice, tight grain. It's soft. Let's try some. You could put, if you're going to have this for like with some stew or soup, you could butter them, but really there is a lot of butter here already. Brioche has this, I mean, it's wonderful buttery flavor, but it's tender and, you know, soft, nice tight grain. It's a really, you know, it is a good tasting bread, so, and it makes a perfect hamburger bun. So you have to try these. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.